Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a YouTube exclusive right here on the Round the Ropes podcast. I'm John, riding solo tonight. But guys, I'm with somebody who you've seen her pretty much everywhere in one shape, way, or form. You know her, you love her, the one, the only Kimmy. Kimmy, what's going on?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. You're my third podcast of the day. I have six podcasts this week, which is kind of scary. But yeah, we're here and I seem to be everywhere in 2023.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But what got you? Let me go. Let me kind of go back a little bit. What got you into wanting to become a broadcaster? Let me put it that way.
So, when I was 8 years old, I saw wrestling for the first time, July 2nd, 2010. It was when TNA was doing their baseball shows. And it was like that moment I knew I wanted to be in the wrestling business somehow, some way, some form. And, thankfully in wrestling, you have a lot of jobs that you could do. And I knew I didn't want to be a wrestler, I didn't want to be a manager. And I was like, well, what else can I be? And I was like, well, commentary and broadcasting, that seems kind of easy. It's just like questions and interviewing and your opinion. Like, how hard could that be? And as I got older, I kind of saw, like, I really didn't want to be anything else. Like, it felt like the thing that kind of suit me. And when I got to college, I majored in sports media. I'm graduating in May. I'm actually the only woman graduating in May with that degree. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And when I got here, like, my high school really didn't have anything for sports media. Like, I got denied from the honors journalism class. We didn't have anything for production at all. And I walked in here kind of like, well, if I suck at it, I kind of don't have a backup plan. And thankfully, I'm good at it. And here we are. So I guess I did something right.
Which is kind of my story as well, because I wanted to get into broadcasting since I was 8 years old also, but with me it was more in line with wanted to get into talk radio. This kind of just, especially with this show, this kind of just fell into my lap one way or another.
I feel like it's how it always is in the sports media world. Like, things just come to us and we're like, okay, cool, here we are.
I mean, if you would have told me a year ago with this show that I would have promoters wanting me to do kickoff shows for them, I would have said you're nuts.
I feel that way too. When I'm like, if you would have told me 4 years ago when I started at Ryder that 4 years later I'd be able to travel the world and call wrestlers my friends and having talent that's counting down till I graduate in May, I would have been like, nope, not happening.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like I left our logo, which I don't know if you can see it behind me, actually, was
Yeah.
was actually hand drawn by Brett Azar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's like I sit there and I go, this crazy sports media wrestling world, it's like not what I expected. Let me put it that way.
No. I always say that the sports media world can give you everything, and then 5 minutes later it could take everything away from you and you're sitting there contemplating your entire life and you're like, why did I get into this in the first place? And I'm like, you know what, I don't know why I got into this in the first place.
Well, people laugh at me, and I don't know if it's the same with you. People laugh at me. They go, "Why do you talk about wrestling so much?" I go, "Because there's never an off season."
Yeah, so obviously I had two things against me in the sports media department here is that number one, I'm a female and obviously it's a male dominated major. Like I said, I'm the only woman graduating in May with it. But number two, I follow a sport that not a lot of people take seriously. And the majority of people in that department follow football, basketball, hockey. That's our main three. And I remember at least one project every semester I've done something wrestling. And my advisor, I was taking sports, I'll never forget this. I was taking sports featured writing in the spring last year. And I did my feature stories all on wrestlers. My first one was on Thunder Rosa. My second one was on Chelsea Green. And after the one with Chelsea Green, my teacher looked at me and he said, I don't want you to do wrestling anymore. I want you to do a different sport because I want you to learn to write about different sports. And I looked at him and I said, well, here's the issue. You have 15 other kids in this class that don't have the connections I do and come to you every single week and they don't know what to write about and they can't hand you assignments. I also have a platform where I'm getting my stuff published where no one else in this class is getting their stuff published. And with me doing wrestlers, I could connect and network to get me a job in the future. So would you rather me do a sport and do something I'm comfortable with that could help me or do something that I don't care about and then I'm coming to you that I can't think of an assignment? And he never questioned me after that.
Hey, I commend you for that, because to me, to sit there and I get what you're saying about it being a very male dominant sport with sports media, but I also feel like there's also wrestling journalism, also. Because when you look at wrestling and journalism, I know it's two separate things, but there's really no prominent female wrestling journalists out there.
Nope.
Unfortunately, no offense to the guys who are prominent, but a lot of them are very old and outdated. No, I mean, no offense to any of them.
It's time for a new breed, you know. We gotta break barriers. I know, like, there's a lot of younger women like me, like Veda Scott, Ella J, Denise, who are really kicking ass, and they're people that I do look up to. But I think one day you're gonna see a full-time woman journalist in a wrestling company, whether it be me or somebody else. It's gonna happen one day.
Oh, I could see it being you. I could see it being you.
Well, I hope it's me for a lot of reasons. I'd like to have a job.
And well, actually, that brings you up to one of the many, many podcasts that you are a part of. And it's somebody who you and I were kind of poking fun at before we started, and that's Bob Culture, Rob Williams. Again, Rob, nothing against you at all.
We gotta talk about him. Like, why? It's always him. Like, we always have to put him over. Doesn't he realize, first of all, I've been on the show before him, so I'm more over than him. And then, if you look at all the Kimmy Takeover episodes, I'm well aware that Kimmy Takeover, it's the name of this episode, it does better in the ratings.
Well, I want to have him on just to mention him, just so that he doesn't feel out of place.
And I appreciate it.
Again, Rob, your invite is still there. It didn't get lost in the mail.
No, I'll be serious about Rob for a second. So I, during the pandemic, obviously, you know, because we met at Baltimore Slap Fest, I work a lot of the convention scene.
Yep.
And during the pandemic, I did a lot of virtual signings on Facebook with this one promoter. And Rob was a fan of them and he would watch them. And one day he messaged me on Facebook towards the end of 2020 and he said, "Hey, I see you have your podcast," because during the pandemic, I started Kimmy Talks Wrestling. And I was wondering if you wanted to come on an episode of the BCP. So we had predicted New Year's Smash on January 1st, 2021. And on that day, I met Rob, Kyle Masters, and Bill Bodkin for the first time. And those three people changed my professional life because Bill gives me the popbreak.com that I get to write. And that's actually my internship for credit this semester. Kyle introduced me to everyone in the Elite POV, which I get to do every single Friday and do a bunch of mini shows on. And obviously Rob, because I get to be on his prediction panels every single month. I'm a pillar and one of the main people a part of his show. And I am forever grateful that Rob took a chance on a 19-year-old kid that really didn't know what she was doing. And now at 21 years old, I could say that Rob has given me so many opportunities and it's very fun to be on his show. And I don't know where I'd be if it wasn't for Rob giving me a chance.
And like I said, I did see the one post that he was talking about with your first time being on there, and he forgot that it was almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, he was like, "There's no way it's been a year." I go, "Rob, let's do math here. Like, I know you're a drummer, but here, 2021, we're in 2023. 3 minus 1 is 2.
Yeah, but again, the last thing I'm going to say about Rob, he's more focused on the Vicky food review shows.
Oh, those have been so critically acclaimed. Like, I've watched a couple of the episodes. They're very good.
Sure.
Hey, listen, I know you're involved with our Goddess of War stuff in February. You know, I was going to pick Vicky to win her side of the bracket. Then Kevin Nasta kind of told me to sway otherwise.
Yeah, we actually did have Kevin on pretty recently, and let's get into that now. Actually, you obviously you've seen the bracket. You've been talking to a lot of them because you also do the Talking Goddesses.
I do. A new episode just dropped 2 hours ago.
How do you see that whole tournament playing out? Because I have sort of my prediction who I think is going to come out on top.
I think the bracket's very interesting because there's a lot of top independent wrestlers out there that are a part of this, like a JC Storm, who's been on AEW Dark very frequently, a Riley Shepard, who has had a lot of mainstream exposure before she got that injury at the WWA show. I believe that's where she suffered that injury. Obviously, you have Vicious Vicky, who just likes collecting titles and gold. You have Notorious Mimi, who had the exposure with NXT. You have Nyla Rose, who you see on AEW. I know she's not in the tournament, neither is Notorious Mimi, but that is, you know, one of the featured matches on the show. So there's a lot of different ways that this bracket could go, which I really do like. And the one thing I will commend Kevin for is when he started in the convention industry, he did know he has a very great eye for talent. talent. He's one of the first people that really brought like Thunder Rosa over to the East Coast, and a Deanna Perrazzo and a Jordan Grace. So he's very good with keying talent. But I'll say what I said on the first episode of Talking Goddess. I think the returning Riley Shepard has a vengeance and a fire in her eyes, and I definitely see her taking that title.
I said this when we were on our show, that it's a lot of big names. I could the one bracket I'm curious to see how it plays out is one that Amanda the Amazon is in, because you got her, Tara Calloway, who are both very large women, and then you got JC Storm and Becca Wiley.
I think Becca Wiley's an underdog. I mean, she's 17, but I think the other thing too is like Becca and Amanda are very focused on their feud. I had both of them on the Talking Goddess episode, and I asked Amanda this. I said, "Are you going to be distracted with Becca that you're going to lose focus on the main goal? Because your main focus isn't getting back at Becca. Your main focus is to advance in the tournament." And she's like, "You know what? No, I'm gonna I'm the biggest in the tournament. I'm gonna show that I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna win." And I'm like, well, you better not get distracted by that 17-year-old.
I just feel sorry for Becca and JC in that match because of the fact you got Tara Calloway in there as well.
Yes.
I'm just afraid that one of them are going to get swung out, and all of a sudden you'll see them in like the fifth row somewhere.
Well, I'll be on the call for that. So if that does happen, I'm not sure what I'm going to say on commentary. I'm making my commentary debut. And I'm just going to be like, oh, so that happened.
Or if you want to break it into baseball reference, you could just go, Becca Wiley, see you later.
Oh, I hate baseball. I have a love-hate relationship with, because I'm from New York, so I have to I have to like a baseball team, so I like the Yankees. But being in a production truck and filming baseball is the longest process of your life.
Mm-hmm.
I
When
feel
I
like
went,
I've lost years.
when I was in college, I had done a few commentary things through the radio station I was a part of, and I did it for baseball. And now I'm used to when we do our show, for example, and we have like a few minutes to breathe or something happens. With that, it's like, okay, guys, we'll be right back right after this, and we're back. I'm like, the hell just happened?
I just don't know. I don't get it. I'm like, you're all interested with people hitting a ball and a bat, but then like people also make fun of us for liking wrestling, so I guess I can't trash other people's sport.
Well, okay, if we're gonna start doing that, there's one sport I always love poking fun at, and that's
Golf?
NASCAR. NASCAR.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because to me, I'm gonna sit there and go, okay, and he just made a left, and he just made another left.
Well, my reason why I can't really like yell at NASCAR is because I was a track athlete for the majority of my life, and
Yeah.
track and NASCAR is very similar because they're both racing on a track. So I feel like NASCAR is a part of me because it's very similar to running track.
To me, I just sit there, and when it comes to NASCAR, I don't get pissed off people who like it, because to me it's a great sport, but the people who sit there and spend their hard-earned money to watch cars basically go in a circle. I'm like, you're gonna sit there and watch cars go in a circle, but then you're gonna laugh at somebody like me or yourself for liking pro wrestling because it's fake.
Yeah. And like you're like NASCAR's outside. Like what if it's raining and like horrible weather? Our events are mostly indoors in the AC and the
Mm.
heat. That's our advantage.
Well, NASCAR is fun when it's raining because then the cars go slip it and slide it, and
Yeah, but then like if you're a spectator, you get wet.
well, hopefully you bring a raincoat.
Hopefully. That's if these people are smart. Like wrestling fans aren't like no offense, but like a lot of wrestling fans aren't intelligent. And I don't know like NASCAR fans are intelligent, so like I don't know.
I'll say this as much, being that obviously one of my co-hosts, Ryan Peterson, who's a ring announcer for a lot of the independent companies, so I've gotten to know a lot of the behind the scenes stuff as well. I agree with you about wrestling fans not being the most intelligent people, because it's like they'll sit there and go, "Yay, this just happened," and me being the wrestling fan I am, like when I go to a show, for example, because a lot of shows I go to are in Ridgefield Park, as the mecca.
Mhm.
I'm not going as a fan. I'll sit there and watch it, but I'll sit there and go, that doesn't connect the dots to that, but that should have not happened. But you got other people sitting there going, like a great example, Garden State Wrestling just debuted there. Uh, God, last week I think it was two. I don't remember. All these shows I go to now, it just seems like one after the other, just blends into one. And they had two cowboys in a match.
Oh.
Yeah. And they basically started chopping each other. The
Oh.
crowd started chanting for the chops. And I'm like, what the hell's going on now? That chops are getting the crowd riled up,
That sounds like a wrestling crowd, sadly.
especially in Ridgefield Park. Yeah, bingo. That's probably the best way to put it. But yes, talk. You mentioned Goddesses. Yes, we will be down there as well because I'm personally I'm looking forward to the event. I think it's gonna be a nice show. When I was at Titan, the anniversary show, it was actually my first Titan show I had been at.
I haven't been to a Titan show yet, so February 25th will be my first time.
And you're gonna be on commentary, so it's even better.
I will. That's why I'm like trying to catch up on everything. I'm like, so this is happening and this, and I'm like, okay, I get it
Yeah,
now.
I'll put it this way: being down there, I had same vibes like I do when I'm in Ridgefield Park. Very similar vibes. Very large room, by the way.
Oh, I like that.
The only thing is, you'll probably do better than who's currently commentating for him, which is Alphonse.
Oh, but I thought Rob liked him. I thought that was Rob's buddy.
I don't know with Rob. I don't know. Everybody's his buddy.
That is true. He has a million best friends just like I do.
Yeah.
I call everyone my best friend. I'm like, you're my best friend, and this one, this one.
But with Rob, it's like I sit there when he goes, "Oh yeah, this guy's my buddy." I go, "Okay, congratulations."
You want a cookie?
Exactly. To me, it's like I sit there and again, Rob, if when you're watching this, I'm not doing this to be mean to you, buddy.
We love you.
Yes, we do. Well, she does.
Wow. I put Rob over for a good like 3 minutes. I hope he clips this and posts it.
Oh, I'll definitely send him the link for it once it finally goes up. Don't worry, I got you on that one. But I mean, you look at your other. I mean, we talked about it. I think most of the shows that you're on. I can't think of any other podcasts that you're doing nowadays.
Well, Elite POV is my main one that we do every Friday.
Yeah,
That's been fun. So I do so on Elite POV, right? So we do Elite POV live every Friday. And
yeah.
then we have the sub shows. And I'm doing, I believe, 4 sub shows. So the second podcast I did before this is exclusively on our Patreon. Kyle and I do a K Squared Observer. So basically, it's a mock of the Wrestling Observer. So we go over our inside scoops, speculations, all that fun stuff. Then Nerdy Elite starting February 9th, because him and I are a big fan of the show You on Netflix. Season
Okay,
4, part 1 is dropping. So we're going to do like an episode by episode review.
okay.
Then at some point, I don't know when, Phil and I are doing Rank the Week. So we're going to rank all the segments on Dynamite and Rampage. And then I'm hosting, whenever Honor Club decides to start up, I'm hosting Honor POV, which is going to be dissecting everything going on in Ring of Honor.
So basically, you're doing a lot.
Yeah, and then working conventions on top of that and traveling and being a full-time student and then doing the production stuff in my school too. I love burnout, don't you?
Oh, yeah, stupendous. Because speaking about conventions, the next time you and I will be in the same area will be coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yes, next weekend, Baltimore Celeb Fest 6.
Yes, and we're actually bringing in talent for this one.
You're bringing in talent. Who are you bringing in?
I can actually say right now because it's been put out there. The lovely Miss Larkin,
Oh.
Christina Marie,
Oh.
JC Storm,
Oh, so you're just okay. So I get to see my buddy JC Storm. All right.
and then there's one who I don't know if you remember him from back in the day, Mike Mondo.
I've heard the name.
You may know him as Mikey from Spirit Squad.
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
He will be there with us as well.
Ooh, so you'll be playing a me. You'll be working the convention. Very nice. Welcome
Plus,
to
we
the
also
club.
plus we also have our merchandise as well. Our shirts, our coffee.
Oh, am I gonna have to interview you again with the microphone? Like,
No, I don't think so.
oh, you sure? You can invade our BCP day of interview. I don't even know who I'm working with yet. I have to text Chad at the end of the week. I don't know who I'm working with.
Hey, all I know is I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a fun couple of days.
Oh, it's gonna be a fun convention. Chad Clark, who is amazing, he puts on one of the best conventions of the year. And besides, he's like on par with WrestleCade. Tracy Myers in North Carolina. If you ever get a chance to go out there Thanksgiving weekend, he does a tremendous job. I've gotten the opportunity to go out there these past 2 years, and what Tracy does, he goes above and beyond for everybody. But Chad Clark, he's great. I mean, I remember, so I got to work with Sting Baltimore Slap Fest 4.
Wow.
And he was the first person that trusted me with a headline guest. And I remember like it was March. Baltimore Slap Fest 4 was in May. It's
Mhm.
the beginning of March. And he was like, "Oh, so who you working with in my convention?" And I was like, "Oh, like I think I'm going to work for this promoter. He's bringing in Tony Storm." He goes, "Can you get out of that? I want you to work with me." And I was like, "Well, I really don't want to do that. I already made a commitment. Also, your convention is 3 months away, so I don't know why we're doing a bidding war for me for a convention that's 3 months away." And he's like, "I'll give you Sting." And I was like, "That's the starting offer? Like you didn't even talk about payment yet. That's the starting offer is Sting. Whoa." And I remember I left the room and then my dad and him talked and I came back and he's like, "Yeah, you're going to work with Sting." So then I texted him like a couple weeks later. I'm like, "Were you like serious about that?" He goes, "Yeah, you're really going to work with Sting." And I was like, "All right." And I was like, "I'm going to work with a headliner. Let's go." And I remember being like so nervous because I'm like, what if I mess up? Like this is gonna look really because this was really my first opportunity at like a real headline guest, a real like really long line.
Yeah.
And if you've never met Sting before, Sting has a hard like once he's done, he's done. Like he has to leave at a certain time. So I had to get that line done by 4 o'clock. And I remember his agent kept on looking at me. He's like, "Come on, Kim, you gotta move the line faster, move the line faster." I got that line done with a half an hour to spare. And his agent looked at me, he's like, "Not bad for your first time." And I had to yell at my buddy, Britt Baker, because Britt Baker was on my line talking to Sting. And I was like, "Britt, you're holding up my line." She's like, "Kimmy, I was all about the DMD all day, every day. Come on." And I was like, "I know, but I have a line." And I've worked with Chad ever since, so I guess he likes my work. Obviously, Baltimore Slugfest 5, I got into a little trouble with Nyla and the baddies, but that's not my fault. Nyla provoked my talent. How rude.
No, I didn't see that video. Not like Rob posted that on every platform imaginable.
But here's my thing, right? So he stood there and filmed me, and Nyla stole. Notice how Nyla and the word stole, it gets tossed around a lot. She stole the TBS title from Jade. She stole my hat. Coincidence? And he stood there and filmed me instead of sticking up for me.
You would think if he's a good friend of yours, he would have stuck up for you.
Exactly. But no, he stood there and filmed me and posted it everywhere. And then Nyla Rose drew on my face at WrestleCade in paint marker.
Yes, again, I did see that video as well.
You know how hard that was to get off?
I can only imagine.
I almost got hand sanitizer on my eye. I almost went blind. Blind.
But obviously, like I said, last year, the last Baltimore was our first one that we were at, and it was fun, just in the aspect of walking around and going, "Oh wait, that's him. Oh yeah, he was on AEW. He was on WWE." And the best one with us, because like I said, I don't look at our show as a big show at all, even though I know a lot of people are starting to know who we are. So when we're at the thing, and also you guys like Buff Bagwell who look at us and go, "Oh, I know who they are."
That's
I'm
the
like,
coolest part.
huh? And some of these other guys who, and I'm sitting, I'm going, again, we're not a big show.
That's truly the best part though, is like the wrestlers like remembering you and like talent being like, "Oh my god, I know you, I know you, I know you."
I'll tell you another great story. There's a promotion out by me called Full Faith Wrestling,
That's a great name.
run by a guy by the name of Mike Magnum. He wrestles a couple of times on AW Dark. He had done a show. This must have been the first show or second show that we were working with him, and he brought Glacier in.
Ooh.
And we're at the show. Now I had gone to the show, and mind you, the week leading up to it, it was fine, perfect weather. The day of the show, icy, rainy, snowy disaster. So I get to the place, and he brings up the Glacier, and he goes, "Oh, Glacier, this is John, Round the Ropes podcast." And Glacier looks at Mike and goes, "I know who he is. We were on a show a couple of days ago." I'm like, "Excuse me?" I'm like, people act, and I'm sitting there, and I mean, granted, I don't know as many people like but
Oh.
it's like you must sit there a lot of times when you have wrestlers who are coming up to you and they're like, "Oh yeah, Kimmy, how you doing?" And you must be sitting there going, "They know who I am."
So I'll tell you. So when I first went to WrestleCade, I remember walking into that bar the night before,
Mhm.
and all these promoters who I had no idea who they were because they were all in North Carolina area. Like, oh my God, Kimmy's here! Oh my God, Kimmy! And I'm like, who are you people? I mean, there's still people now that come up to me at conventions, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. Like, I feel so bad. But I think the coolest thing for me is like my I've made it moment was at Baltimore Stuff Fest 5. I was helping Britt, just like with a couple things, and I remember I was wrapping, like we were wrapping up and I was saying goodbye to her. And she looked at me and she's like, oh, bye, Kimmy. And I turned around, she's like, come back. And I looked at her, I'm like, what? And she took $40 off of her pile of money and gave it to me.
Wow.
And I was like, I can't take this. You're out of your mind. And for those who don't know, I've known Britt since 2018. I worked with Britt before AEW was even a company, and the only thing she was known for was being Adam Cole's girlfriend and that she was in the All In match. That was all she was known for. And I've seen her evolve and be the biggest thing in AEW, which is why I'm such a huge Britt Baker fan. And I know I get hate for it, but like I said, I've known her since 2018. I have a soft spot for Britt. So I said, I'm like, Britt, I cannot take this money from you. You're out of your mind. And she's like, no, take it. Like, we talk, like, all the girls and I talk about it all the time in the locker room. You do too much for us. Please take it. And I was like, you talk about me in the locker room? I'm over. I'm over. So that was my I've made it moment. That moment. I've made
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. And I actually had the honor of meeting Britt at the after party for Double or Nothing, the
She's the best.
first one. And the funny thing is, she was like one of the ones I really wanted to meet because this is when AEW first had started, and they had the after party. And I'm in the room. I didn't know a lot of people there. Now, mind you, I met Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, Scorpio Sky, the whole 9 yards. Finally get to Britt. Not only did I meet Britt, but I actually met her entire family.
All right. Yeah.
And she goes, yeah. She goes, this is my dad. I'm like, hi, how you doing?
No, she's the best. Like I said, I've known her for a while, and just to see like all the stuff she does, it amazes me every day. And the fact that she could be a dentist and a wrestler full time puts every multitasking thing I do to shame because I don't know how she does it with the amount of hours in the day.
Yeah, and I mean, you're talking about Britt. I mean, I still remember when she was I forgot, it must have been the first War Games that WWE had done
Oh, and
in
then she did the
NXT. Yeah, and I remember that because I was like, yeah, that's not going to go over well.
no, and like that was one of the only things that she was known for. And look at her now. Hard work pays off, kids. Hard work definitely pays
Exactly,
off.
exactly. Or in my case, in your case, burning ourselves out.
Oh yes, I love me some burnout, especially like sprinkle my anxiety on top of there makes a beautiful sandwich.
But yes, we have Baltimore coming up in a couple of weeks, and again, guys, like I said, definitely go say hi to Kimmy and definitely come by our table as well because it's going to be a fun day. But I also know you do a lot of stuff with Wow, Warrior of Wrestling. I think it's
Yes. What don't I do with WoW? So I was a fan going to WoW when I was a kid, obviously, because that's the only independent promotion in Staten Island. And when I started in the convention business, one of the promoters I grew really close with was Richard DeGreg, who was the first promoter I ever worked with, and his partner was always Joe Bellini, who owns Warriors of Wrestling. And I remember, like, he always jokes me. He's like, remember when you would sit there at breakfast before conventions and you just wouldn't talk? And now you just don't shut up. Like, remember those times, Kimmy? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if what you're trying to say here, but when I got to college, he started asking me to do stuff for him. I've written some press releases for him. I usually work the door at his events. I've recorded a couple things for him. I'll like pitch, like I really like dissect things. I work very very closely with the women's champion Jade. And I'll dissect her stuff, like give her some critiques, like like why don't you try this, why don't you do that. She's actually the longest reigning women's champion in Warriors wrestling history. Fun fact: only 18. Oh, well, she's turning 19 in a couple weeks, but 18 years old as this recording. But yeah, so I'm real. Like I said, I do everything but step in the ring. That's what I tell people. And Maria and I joke about this because Maria's one of the people that is literally waiting for me to graduate because she wants to give me a job because she runs WWA. And she's like, so what would you want to do? I said, well, where do you need me? Because at this point, I do it all. Just don't ask me to step in the ring.
I can
And
see
she
you stepping in the ring.
I'm too small and I'm very injury prone. Like that's actually one of the like besides my anxiety and my mental health causing me to quit my athletic career, one of the main reasons was because I was very injury prone. I have very bad knees. I have a history of concussions. So,
Oh, Jesus.
yes,
But,
at 21 years old I have a history of concussions.
well, it's actually funny you bring that up. That's sort of the reason why I went into broadcasting was I was an athlete, and I put that in quotes
Wow.
because I was more known as being a klutz at
Oh.
it when it came to sports. And I can go into a whole. I mean, there was one time where I got injured going to baseball practice. There was one time I tried to play basketball with my hands in my pockets. So, like I said, I could have an entire podcast just on my klutz, on me being a klutz. But that's sort of the reason why I went when it came into broadcasting was I realized after a while, me playing any sport, nah. Me sitting down talking about sports, absolutely.
Well, I remember when I started in the sports media department here, one of the kids, he graduated last year, he told me, he goes, every great athlete has to learn to step away to tell the stories of other athletes.
Yeah.
And I kind of like really took that because when I was at track, like obviously I talk about like my mental health and anxiety, like I just knew I couldn't do it anymore. Like I was burnt out to a T. I lost my love for track personally because of just other things. And this is something like I always wanted to do. Like I never wanted to be the D1 athlete. I never wanted to, go professionally, go to the Olympics. That wasn't what I wanted. I wanted this. I wanted it bad. And that's what I was known for in high school. I went to a very small high school and everyone knew me. That's the wrestling kid. And hopefully she makes it. And now everyone's looking at me like, Kimmy just never stops. She's always going.
Well, that's like me when I was in high school. A lot of people turned around to me. They're like, "Oh, you're going to be on ESPN one day," or like the Yes Network, for example. And I'm like, I doubt that. I go, I hate first of all getting dressed up like that.
Oh, me too. I get yelled at for wearing a hat all the time.
For me, I'm more happy going to a place wearing jeans, a t-shirt, and sneakers.
Oh yes, I'll never wear heels or flats. I actually wore sneakers to my prom and my principal laughed at me and I'm like, I'm not wearing heels. I'm sorry, bro. But I think the major thing for me is I've worked very hard to get here. And I think because I never like really gave up that dream, that's what really drove me to prove so many people wrong. And I was okay with giving up my athlete career and being scared of being great to put all my effort and work into something I really wanted to do. And now doing this and everything I've done, like it makes me realize it's all worth it.
Yeah, and I noticed that with us, it's a lot more of I have fun doing this and I enjoy doing this. And I mean the connections that I've had. I mean the fact now that I can go to independent shows and I have got wrestlers now who look at me and go, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" And will actually start talking to me like I'm one of the that I'm like I am one of the guys, but I'm not because I always tell people I'm not in this industry. I'm in this industry because of that. That's what got me here. But physically, I'm not in this industry. I mean, I took a chop one time from Marina Shafir.
Oh, that was a bad decision.
Well, there's actually a funny story that if you like to hear it.
And I know Marina, and I'm telling you that's a bad decision, but go on.
On our regular show, Ronald's podcast, which airs here every Tuesday night, we had a bet. This was going back towards SummerSlam. And basically, you ever hear the one chip challenge?
I have.
We did two of them. We did the 2021 edition and the 2022 edition. So basically, the 2021 edition, we're at Hooters in East Brunswick, New Jersey. And the challenge was we had to eat the chip. Now, this chip is covered in scorpion death pepper and Carolina Reaper.
Oh, this doesn't sound good.
Yeah. Nobody going into it thought I was going to last more than a minute. I
Oh
lasted over
no.
20 minutes.
Oh crap.
To the point, when you see wrestling, and a lot of times the baby face is like hitting the mat to try to get. That's what I started doing at one point. And I was like, I'm going to get through this because one thing with me is I had pride in myself. I'm like, I'm not going to go down in defeat like this. So basically, since we ended up in a tie, the result was we both got chopped, but I got this all shaved off.
Oh no.
And so the way it was I had to get for my co-host Carl, I got a wrestler to chop him, and he got one for me. The one who I got for him was Darius Carter.
Oh, that's even worse.
Well, especially Darius has been on our show previous times, and Darius always blames us for the reason why he lost the title to Marina Shafir at Brie Combination Wrestling.
I could see him blaming you for that. Yeah, Darius is our four-time, because I know he'll get mad at me, four-time Warriors of Wrestling champion.
So Carl kind of knew about it beforehand. I didn't know who I was getting chopped by till the day of. So he
Oh.
turns around to Ryan. He goes, "Oh, go get her." And I'm like, "Her? Who's her?" Because mind you, at this show you had Marina Shafir, you had the Hex, you had Blonde Force Trauma. So I'm going, "Oh shit, he's gonna get Heather Monroe. He's gonna get Allison Kay, Marty Bell." I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm done." And he goes, "Oh, Marina Shafir." I'm going, "Excuse me." I'm like, "We're going with this route."
Oof.
So she turns around, she comes up to me, she goes, "Okay, how would you want the chop?" And I go, "The one that's less painful, please." And she started laughing. So I'm sitting there and I'm like clenching my fist. I'm going, "Okay, just go." I go for the chop. She looked at me afterwards. She goes, "That was the easiest chop I ever had to give." I looked at my chest afterwards and I had a handprint for like a solid couple minutes. I'm
Yeah, that
going,
seems right.
I'm like, ah. So now when anybody tells me, "Oh, you know what it's like to get hit by a wrestler," I go, "No, no, I know what it's like to get hit by a wrestler. Like I've been there. That's why I never want to get into a ring."
Yeah, I mean, I've had Thunder body slam me and some other things, but not that bad.
Yeah, but that's why we also stopped doing the one chip challenge after we did the 2022 edition because the first one we lasted over 20 minutes. The second one I lasted a total of 35 seconds.
Oh,
Yeah, it was not fun. Folks,
damn.
I'm just saying, if you're watching this, do not try the one chip challenge.
I don't do
Take it,
spicy food to begin with.
take it from somebody like me who's done it twice now. You don't want to do it because you will more than likely not last more than 45 seconds.
Yeah, I
But
don't I don't do spicy food.
yeah, well, we stopped doing food challenges after that
Smart
because
decisions.
we did another one involving White Castle burgers,
Oh.
and it involved three different hot sauces.
Oh,
So we're like, yeah. Now when we go to shows, we don't do any food challenges
smart
because also
decisions.
I have a few people who are friends of mine who, if I tell them we're doing a food challenge, they look at me and go, "You're nuts."
Yeah, I could see that.
But this has definitely been fun tonight.
Yes, like I said, you were my third podcast of my sixth podcast week. You closed out my night.
So I will let you promote everything that you have coming up, which may take a good 3 hours.
No, I mean, I try to be short with it. It's not my fault I have so much going on. So, hi, I'm Kimmy, in case you didn't know that already. Hi. Um, so obviously you can follow me on Twitter at Kimmy_Sokol, Sokol. It says it right there. Like
Yep, right
literally
there.
right there. Or you can follow, so my wrestling Instagram, it's basically just like a highlight reel of all the stuff I do. It's Kimmy Talks Wrestling, very simple. So obviously I'm on the Bob Culture podcast. I'm going to be on there Thursday night because we are predicting the Royal Rumble because we are entering WrestleMania week. So much fun and exciting. Elite
Yep,
POV, you can catch us every single Friday night live on Twitch or YouTube. Just like type in Elite POV, we'll be there. We talk about Dynamite, we preview Rampage, and then of course we talk about news, rumors, speculation, just everything with AEW. Like I said, there's a lot of shows and content on our YouTube show. If you are interested in the K Squared Observer stuff I was talking about, you have to go on our Patreon. That is a Patreon exclusive. Just like Sean Ross Sapp has a $5 paywall, so do we. And that's a joke I made tonight, and I was dying for a good 3 minutes. I was so proud of myself. But like I said, when you starts, I believe that's a YouTube show, and rank the week and all that other fun stuff. I know my other co-hosts, they do a Let's Talk, they do I Heart WC. So there's a lot of content on there if you want to check that out. Like we also talked about, I do the Talking Goddess with my co-host Samira, who is doing some interviews for me too, because there's no way I could get all the interviews done before February 25th, because there's a lot of females we got to interview. So if you're interested in any of the ones, so the first episode we did was breaking down the bracket. I talked to Kevin Nasta. The second one I interviewed Becca Wiley. The third one today I interviewed Amanda the Amazon. When this airs tomorrow, it will be tomorrow. Um, It will be JC Storm for my 4th episode, so make sure you tune into all that. Obviously, come out February 25th. There's a convention beforehand, and if you followed me along, I'm pretty good at those. And of course, I'll be making my commentary debut. I'll officially be making my wrestling debut on February 25th, which is still crazy for me to say. Obviously, Baltimore Celeb Fest. Please come out. Chad Clark does one hell of a job. He is like I said, one of the nicest people ever. So please come out to Baltimore Celeb Fest. If you're not in the Baltimore area and you're more on my neck of the woods, like New York, New Jersey, there are some conventions in your area coming up. Obviously, March 11th, we have Big Event New York in Queens. Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti are going to be there, CJ Perry, and a lot of other talent. It's also horror themed, so it's horror and wrestling. So come out to that. March 18th at Icons of Wrestling, we just announced Team 3D. I will be working with Tim and the gang again. I don't know who I'm working with yet there either. So come out to that. If you're going to LA for WrestleMania week, I will be working at WrestleCon. I will be there. I'm going to try to go to as many shows as I can out in LA because I want to meet a lot of people and get a lot of content. And on top of all of that, the other cool thing I do, I really didn't get to talk about tonight, but the broadcasting stuff at my school that's on ESPN3 and ESPN Plus, I am part of the production crew. I do a lot of stuff with camera. I could do graphics. I could do TD. I could do replay. I could do it all. So if you're looking for Ryder Bronx basketball or wrestling on ESPN3, there's a very good chance I'm in the production truck working that. And that's about everything I do. And I'm a full-time student.
Wow. Hey, I commend you for putting up with Rob Williams. I'm just gonna say that.
Well, I love. Stop bashing Rob. I
Okay,
love Rob.
he's good. I'm not. I'm busting chops.
Busting chops. I'll make sure to text him that when we're done here. I got you, Rob. Don't worry. Oh yeah, did I say BCP? I'm on the BCP. I know I forgot something. I'm on the BCP. I think I said Royal Rumble predictions.
Yeah, Royal Rumble prediction.
But
yes.
I'm also on there every month doing predictions. And whenever Rob's just like, "Hey, I want a podcast to talk about this. You want to come on?" And I'm like, "Oh sure." And the popbreak.com. I did forget something. I'm sorry. I feel really bad. I do write articles on the popbreak.com. My internship for credit is I will be writing a lot of articles on there. Some will be feature stories. I'm talking to a couple wrestlers to do interviews there. I'm really hoping the one big name I'm talking to actually works out because I'll be really excited. I can't reveal who it is here. I'll tell you off air. But there's a couple other big names that I'm working on, so hopefully we can get that. And just some fun articles. So if you're interested in that, go to thepopbreak.com. Also, there's not just wrestling there. There's pop culture stuff and movies and all that other pop culture stuff that I'm really not into. But yeah, check out that because Bill Botkin's amazing. And he's the best therapist I've ever had.
And what I was going to say after all that,
I'm sorry.
You are more than welcome, when you can fit it in your schedule to come back on here. We'd love to have you back on again.
Well, thank you. Just let me know. Just text me. I listen, I don't have class on Monday or Fridays, and I don't have class on Wednesday till 6:30, so I'm pretty open.
We'll figure it out, but we'll definitely have you back on again. But yeah, you can find Kimmy at basically any wrestling show in the United States.
Hey, it's my first time going to California. I'm excited to go out there for WrestleCon.
Hey, I commend you. I commend you. But guys, like I said before, this has been a YouTube exclusive for the Around the Ropes podcast. For Kimmy, I'm John. We will catch you guys on the next YouTube exclusive that we have. But until then, go subscribe to our channel. We're at youtube.com/the ATR Network 2022. So definitely go subscribe there. But until then, catch you guys next time.